Hello, everyone, and welcome to Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin, and today I got my very special guest, David Lowe from Faces for Radio and The4KLowedown, and we'll be discussing From Here to Eternity from 1953. And so with that, David, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, everybody. I'm David Lowe. I am the co-host of the Faces for Radio podcast with myself and Turner Fan 77, aka Rich. We air our shows every Wednesday night live, where we look at new releases, and also the 4KLowedown, where I do unboxings and town hall meetings and stuff like that for my collection. So definitely come over and check us out.
Yeah, and feel free to follow him using the links down below, guys. They've got some great stuff there. I love watching their Wednesday shows when I can. It's always hilarious what you guys do. Talking about some crazy movies out there.
Yeah, no, if it's new, we'll watch it. It doesn't matter if we think it's going to be good or bad.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And sometimes we have guests on the show, so if you want to take part in it and you're willing to watch all the movies that we're going to do that week, you can be on the show.
That's right. Yes. I haven't done that one yet, but I remember doing the high five. That was really fun.
Yeah. Did your high five? I remember Rich and I both groaning about it a little bit.
Yes.
Because there was definitely, some movies that we were not used to, but it was a great experience. And especially when you're like, I'm going to go by decade, starting with the 20s. And I went, oh no. I'm just glad we pulled Sound of Music at the last minute.
Yes.
And went with something else. But
I'll get you to review it at some point.
You'll get me to do it. I know. And Rich wants me to do West Side Story. And I am not a musical fan. So it's just going to be, they just love to torture me. That's all it is.
That's what we like to do with David.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into our thoughts on the film. But before we get started with our thoughts, have you ever heard of or know anything about From Here to Eternity?
I read the book.
Oh, I didn't know there was a book.
Way back. Yeah, there's a book, really old book. But yeah, I read the book when I was in junior high or something. And I'd never seen the movie. I'd heard of the movie, but I hadn't seen it. So this was a first time watch for me. But yeah, I read the book way back when. So I kind of knew the story. I kind of knew what was going on.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I never realized it was a book. So I think I need to check it out then. And I wonder, I didn't even check. Is it based on a true story? I don't even know. I mean, Pearl Harbor was real, of course, but like the real characters and whatnot.
Yeah. So it was the debut novel of James Jones. It was published in 1951.
Okay. So,
and I'm trying. So it's based on Jones's experiences.
Oh, wow.
In pre-World War II in the 27th Infantry. So, which is basically he served in Company E, which was the boxing company. That was the company that did all the boxing and fighting and stuff. Mm-hmm. So he wrote that book, and it was his debut novel, and it was published in 51 and turned into a movie in 53.
Wow. That's a quick turnaround.
Yeah. That's almost Twilight level.
Yeah.
Maybe even better than Twilight level.
Yeah. Because Twilight, probably 4 or 5 years, I want to say.
Yeah. I'm thinking crazy. It's about 5.
Yeah. Something crazy like that. Well, that's cool. I didn't realize there was a book for it. So
yeah. But check it out. I'm not advertising for Amazon, but you can buy it for like $14.99 or something on Amazon, I think.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I'll see if it's on Audible too. I like using it.
There might be an Audible or at least a Kindle version or something like that.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, for me, this movie, I mean, I've heard of it before. It's a Best Picture winner, and I think everybody has seen that famous scene with Burt Lancaster and Deborah Kerr, I think is her name, on the beach. That's a very, very
the beach scene.
Shot.
Yeah.
Like even Shrek recreated it. Like,
yeah,
it's a pretty famous scene, but I knew nothing about it.
Yeah, I think it was. I think a James Bond movie recreated that scene too. And I'm trying to remember which one. I mean, Dr. No's coming to mind, but I don't think it was Dr. No. But there was a beach scene with Sean Connery, and whoever the damsel was in that one, and they did the same type of thing on the beach. So
Thunderball? It might have been Thunderball.
Might be Thunderball. I meant to look that up because I was like, I could swear I saw that in James Bond.
Yeah.
So that might be something to do. And those are old movies too, Harrison. So we might run through some of the old Bonds, you and I. I think that'd be kind of fun.
That would be fun. I really like Goldfinger is definitely my favorite one.
Goldfinger's my favorite too. Tomorrow Never Dies is a close second because that's my favorite Pierce Brosnan one. Mm-hmm. Mainly because of Michelle Yeoh is in it, and Michelle Yeoh is amazing. So
right.
So yeah. And then Casino Royale. I have a favorite from each Bond. But I had to buy the steelbook of George Lazenby's. Oh yeah. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, because that was the only one he ever did.
Right. I actually really like that one. I might be in the minority.
I do too. And they'd already signed him for a second one, but he himself messed up and got canceled. Like he got arrested. He did something wrong, and he got pulled from the movie, and they threw Sean Connery back in for one more film.
Oh, that's crazy. And that was Diamonds Are Forever. Oh, yeah. Gosh, I hate that movie.
Yeah, but Sean Connery had no idea he was doing it. That was supposed to be George Lazenby until he got in trouble. So,
well, let's get into our thoughts on the film. So let me bring up my slideshow here.
That's a good poster.
Yeah, I really like this movie poster. I might buy it.
It's a good poster. I mean, I'm an 80s person at heart, so you can see the posters behind me. But that's a good poster.
Yeah. So let's get into our thoughts on the plot. We'll start off with that. And so for you, David, on a scale 1 to 5, and what are some of your thoughts on the plot for this movie?
Okay. I kept flipping my score around a little bit on the plot. Ultimately, this is a romance with just so happens to have the attack on Pearl Harbor at the end of it. Mm-hmm. Right. So, and I'm not much of a romance fan, and also I have a problem with infidelity, which there's infidelity in here.
There is. Yep.
But I do like the plot. I like how it plays out. The storyline is good. The acting really makes this movie. So when we get to there, that's going to be huge. But I ended up at a 3 for the plot. So I felt it was a decent plot. I think, basically the Pearl Harbor attack is just a backdrop really to what was going on. And that really should almost like, you remember the Ben Affleck Pearl Harbor movie?
Yes. Okay.
Very, very similar here in that the first half of the movie is all romance, and then the attack on Pearl Harbor happens. Mm-hmm. And that's when the movie really gets good. But in this case, you got, like the last 10 minutes of the movie is when Pearl Harbor happens. And so you got romance and you got Frank Sinatra, and there's a lot of drinking. And I guess that's par for the course for the soldiers in that time in particular. But yeah, so I ended up mid-range kind of. So I ended up at a 3.
Okay. Nice. Well, I'm not going to disagree too much with you there. I gave it a 4. I liked it just a little bit more. I actually like the scenes of them kind of hazing and beating up Montgomery Clift's character a bit. I thought that was kind of interesting, showing a little bit of a different light to soldiers. Because at this time, there was kind of the more happy-go-lucky war movies. This kind of seems a little bit more realistic, like an Apocalypse Now or like one of those kind of movies, right? Where it's not pretty, like they don't always get along and all of that. So I like that.
Mm-hmm. And Montgomery Clift is the captain, right? Or no, that's Pruitt. That's the kid that was hazed. Okay, I see where you're going now. It was Holmes. Philip Ober was the captain.
Yes,
and he was a strange character. Mm-hmm. And Karma getting him at the end was great, but Montgomery Clift's character as Pruitt, this reminded me of for those of you that have seen A Few Good Men, where they talk about the code red. This is very similar to that, to where they're like, okay, you don't want to box for us, we're gonna make your life a living hell until you actually come box for us.
Exactly.
And I liked that. And that's actually where I ended up going up to a 3, because I think I was at a 2.5 for a while.
Okay.
I liked that plot, but it really took a back seat to the romance between Lancaster and
definitely, and Deborah Kerr's character.
Yeah,
definitely. And we could talk about spoilers here too. I mean, the movie's almost 7 years old. It is 7 years
53,
old.
So yeah, what are we talking? We're talking 90 years old almost. So
right.
So yeah, I think if you haven't seen it by now, then sorry.
Yeah.
but sorry.
I hate the ending. I hate how they kill off his character. I just couldn't stand it. I was like, are you serious? He's been through so much crap.
Yeah.
And he dies.
And he dies, and he gets killed by friendly fire on the golf course in a Hawaiian shirt. You should never die in a Hawaiian shirt. I'm sorry. You should never get killed in a Hawaiian shirt. You're supposed to be happy in a Hawaiian shirt. I didn't like how Frank Sinatra's character died.
No, I don't like that either.
In the movie. But he deserved that Oscar though.
Oh, definitely.
I was like, as far as I saw, he stole the show.
Yeah.
Acting wise.
Absolutely. He was my favorite.
It was my favorite character. The whole movie. I loved Frank Sinatra in this movie. And I was just like, Frank Sinatra. Cool. It's somebody I recognize. So
right.
Because that's one of the things with with our scoring system on the Faces for Radio, we look at recognition in the cast. And this would actually give me a 10 for recognition, because Montgomery Clift and Burt Lancaster and Donna Reed and Frank Sinatra. I was like, dude, this has got a great cast even from back then.
Cast.
Ernest Borgnine is in it.
Yeah. Oh, he was great too.
There's that. What is that other dude? I can't remember his name now off the top of my head. Jack Warden is in it.
Yeah. 12 Angry Men.
Claude Akins is in it. I was just like, holy crap! There's amazing cast here. I mean, some of these movies, especially before I was born, I'm like, I don't recognize these people, but this is like, the Expendables level cast where I recognize just about everybody.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, since we're kind of talking about that, let's move on.
Let's move right to acting, right?
Yeah.
This is one of the best acted movies that I have done on your show. Yes. If not the best.
Yes.
This, I'd Spinal Tap this if I could and give it an 11. The acting here is phenomenal. Montgomery Clift is awesome. Lancaster, he's an overactor from the word go, but it works in this movie. He has that. Oh, George Reeves is in this. The original Superman.
Yeah, he is
in this movie. And I was like, where the heck did that guy come from? This has got an amazing cast. The acting is amazing. Donna Reed is amazing. Deborah Kerr did a great job. I mean, all the way around, that's what makes this film is the characters. Mm-hmm. Sinatra being right at the top.
No, so you give it a 5.
Yeah, big old 5.
Yeah. All right.
Big old 5. 5 with asterisks after it.
Or 5++, right?
5++.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I also gave it a 5, like you said. Every actor in this is fantastic. They make it great. I especially love Deborah Kerr, Donna Reed. It's a very different role than her It's a Wonderful Life character. I thought that was interesting. I love Montgomery Clift, Ernest Borgnine. We mentioned him a bit. And I actually really like Burt Lancaster in this as well. It's very different from his Sweet Smell of Success character. I like him more in that, but I think he's still good in this one as well.
Yeah. I mean, he was nominated for an Oscar. Yeah. He didn't get it, but he was nominated. And I think Donna Reed won for supporting actress, right?
I'd have to check again, but I think so. I think pretty much everybody.
So it won Best Picture for sure. Montgomery Clift was nominated for Best Actor, as well as Burt Lancaster, but neither of them won. Deborah Kerr was nominated for Best Actress. Frank Sinatra won for Supporting Actor.
Okay.
Yeah, Donna Reed won for supporting actress.
Yeah. Okay.
Fred Zinnemann won for director. Daniel Tardash won for screenplay. Burnett Guffey won for cinematography, black and white. And let's see, costumes was nominated, and they won for best sound.
Okay.
Also.
Wow.
And best film editing.
So they almost swept all of them.
They almost swept.
Wow.
They just didn't sweep the best actor, best actress, but they almost got everything else.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah, they don't make movies like this anymore.
No.
They don't have actors like this anymore.
No.
I really like. Yeah. I would have thought that Montgomery Clift would have got best actor here.
Yeah.
Because I thought his performance, aside from Sinatra's, was my favorite, and then Donna Reed, probably number 3. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I liked Lancaster in this, but I thought he overacted. But I think that fits his role as the sergeant.
Yeah, it's kind of the shifty sergeant. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like, and he like changes his tune in the middle of the movie to where all of a sudden he's like, you know what, I have respect for you now. Because you didn't back down, so you're good. I'm not going to get you thrown in the stockade. I even like the captain, the guy who played the captain, Ober, but I'd never seen him before.
I don't think I have either.
Philip Ober, I hadn't seen him, or I didn't recognize him from anything else, but he did a good job here. And he was in North by Northwest, but I don't remember him in there. That was the other movie we did together.
Yeah. Was he at the UN? He might have been one of the UN characters.
I don't know. He was Lester Townsend. And that name sounds familiar.
Yeah. Is that the one who got assassinated? I can't remember.
Was that the guy who got killed? Okay. Yeah, I recognize him now, looking at the picture of him from North by Northwest. I don't think he died. Oh no, he got stabbed in the back. Yeah, he died.
Okay, it was that guy. Okay,
he got stabbed. Yeah, he's the guy who got stabbed in the back.
Okay,
so
that's what I thought.
So yeah, that was him. But yeah, I didn't notice him in North by Northwest, but I noticed him here.
Yeah, he leaves a better impact here.
He leaves a better impression here, even though he's kind of the antagonist. He's the jerk. Even over Burt Lancaster, who starts out as the jerk, but Burt Lancaster is the jerk that works for the jerk.
Right. He's the henchman.
he's the Igor to his Dr. Frankenstein.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, no. The acting score was easy. Was an easy 5.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think to me that's the highlight, if not one of the highlights of the film, is the acting. Well, let's move on then to directing. What were your thoughts on the directing?
Again, this was a first time watch for me, and the guy won the Oscar for best director. Right, so I'm automatically like, okay, I've got to at least look into that and consider that as part of my scoring. So, but in watching it, I really felt Fred Zinnemann did an amazing job here. And looking at his other filmography, he's got High Noon, A Man for All Seasons, The Nun's Story, Julia, Day of the Jackal, things like that. He's done some real Old Man in the Sea. He's done some great movies. And I think this is right up there with it. So I gave it a 5 for directing.
Nice. I give it a 4, mostly because now I'll have to ask you a question about this. How similar is the story of the book to the movie in the sense of the main character dying and all of that stuff?
Most of that, if I remember correctly, is similar. Like I said, I was in junior high when I read this book, so it was a long time ago. Okay. I mean, dinosaurs still roam the earth when I read this book.
Well, you don't remember? No.
So, the memory is the first thing to go when you get old like me. But yeah, from what I remember, I mean, I didn't remember a lot of the romance. And I really think that was like exaggerated from the book. But as far as
Probably.
the deaths and stuff like that, I think that was pretty accurate.
Okay. Well, then maybe I just still like this story.
But I think they embellished a lot.
Okay.
I think they over embellished a lot.
All right. Well, I give him a 4 though. I still
Yeah.
really liked what he did. I just wasn't a fan of how, Montgomery Clift's character dies. And as much as I love the hazing stuff that they're doing, I kind of wish we didn't have so much of that. To me, it felt like it was getting a little repetitive. It's like, all right, let's move on from this. Like I get it now. Kind of beat me on the head with it.
I did like it when they decided to accelerate and the hazing got worse.
Yeah.
And now he got kind of warned, hey, they're going to get bad. So when the other soldiers started like sticking up for him,
yeah,
and like looking out for him. I mean, Sinatra was in his corner the whole way, but the other guys like Ernest Borgnine's character and stuff, they was like, hey, I got your back, but they're going to come after you hard. And I liked that. And I liked when Montgomery Clift's character switched and actually took on that other dude, that sergeant.
Yeah, he actually punches him. Yeah.
And because you kind of got that. At first, he was afraid, and he was petrified, thinking I could never live without you by my side. No, he went. Yeah. He was afraid to hit the guy in the face. And it was that look on his face. Now, this is more acting than directing, but I did like how he shot it to where he was able to see. You could see into his eyes how that switch flipped to where, okay, now I need to do this.
Yeah.
And he took him on and he beat the guy. And that's when everything came to a head for the captain, because those guys upstairs were watching all that stuff. And that's kind of when the whole thing flipped in Montgomery Clift's favor, in Pruitt's favor. I did not like how he died. But he did die in the book. I don't remember if it was the same way, but he did die in the book, and Sinatra's character died in the book. But yeah, I wasn't happy with how he just kind of dropped those guys off.
Yeah.
But I kind of felt that was script and not directing.
Okay.
But yeah, I was like, okay, 4.5. And then I was at a 5, and then I was at a 4.5, and then I went down to a 4, and then I started to come back up. And ultimately when the Pearl Harbor attack happened, I loved how that was shot.
Yeah.
And all that scene of them, all in that courtyard, and that shot that came down from above, and how they were all trying to scatter. And there was that one shot where the one guy was in the courtyard, and you saw the bullets hit, and they were just right along the line, and it hit that dude and killed him. And I was like, that was a really cool shot.
Yeah.
So all that kind of played into me putting the directing at a 5, but it wasn't as easy getting to a 5 as it was for the acting here. So I get your 4. I understand.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Fair enough. Well, and I'll get more into cinematography about more of the stuff I loved about what you were talking about, but I don't know. I guess I don't like kind of more nihilistic kind of stories. I kind of like the more happy. So this kind of had some happy to it, but I don't know.
Yeah, there was some happy to it, but yeah, it was all in the midst of this cloud of negativity, right? So they were happiest when they were drinking.
Yeah.
And that was bad. And and Burt Lancaster's character was happiest when he was having an affair with the captain's wife.
Right.
So there's all this, the guy, Pruitt was unhappy being beaten up, but then he was equally unhappy when he finally turned and he beat the guy, he beat the sergeant.
Right.
And then, when what happened with Ernest Borgnine's character happened, and he stabbed him, and there was that knife fight because he killed Sinatra's character. So since we're not worried about spoiling things, so every piece of happiness came from something awful,
right?
Or was countered with something awful. And I really think that that's how the real world is. So you got to make your own happiness, and it's the ones that are happy for just being happy, that those I don't agree with. because I don't believe in those storylines. But if you can be happy despite all the world is throwing at you, then that's pretty cool, and I enjoy that.
Well said.
But I like your style, Harrison.
Yes, thank you. Some people do. No.
Yeah,
All right.
I know you were banned, and I'm sorry, but I don't know what happened there, but
canceling too many times. It's like can't do it today.
I can't do the show. I can't do November. That's it. You're off. I'm not calling you anymore. I've got a big old list that I'm doing for those guys too, and I'm like,
I had a big list.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah, it is 105 here, so yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, it's hot today.
I've got brain fry, so it's the 4th of July. I have been drinking, so it's not,
There you go.
Okay, so yeah, cinematography and special effects, right? So
yes, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, I'm not a big fan of black and white, but I did like the cinematography here.
Yes.
I thought the cinematography here was really, really good. Especially when it got to the battle.
Yeah.
But the battle, it took a long time to get there.
Yeah, we kind of built up to it a bit.
Yeah. So I thought that, you have that beach scene. The beach scene was really good. Mm-hmm. The stuff where they had Pruitt running, where they had Montgomery Clift and he was running. And the one thing I wanted to call to is the sweat.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, I could tell it was hot. I could tell they were working. They're running with the gun up like that. Uh-huh. And Sinatra's with them, and they're both tired. I mean, you could tell it wasn't like, okay, we're gonna spray you with water and we're gonna have you run. No, they had them run. They were running. They may not have been doing 10 miles or anything, but they probably ran around that track a few times.
Oh yeah.
To make it look like they were tired. So I like that element. I like the element of realism. I liked how they acted them when they were drunk. I'm going to call that a special effect because I was like, were they actually drinking? I don't know. They could have been drinking. Burt Lancaster sitting in the middle of the road. I could have sworn he was drunk.
He definitely sounded it.
He sounded drunk. And he's like, hey, come sit by me, your friend. And and then the Jeep pulls up and it's like, hey, you guys got to get out of the road. And I thought that was really cool. I like the rain. I like the way that they did just the smoke and with the gunfire and all that. So yeah, I did not give it a 5, but I was close. I went 4.5.
Okay.
Because I did like it, but ultimately the black and white just dropped it a little bit.
Okay.
And so that's why I ended up at a 4.5.
Nice.
What about you? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I gave it a 5 because I really love those Pearl Harbor scenes. I thought they were really excellent. And
I agree. If they'd have done it like halfway through the movie, or done some warning stuff maybe or something, some drills, instead of just like really close-ups on the actors. This was really character focused and not effect focused.
Definitely.
So that makes sense. But yeah, I like I said, I would have given it a 5 if it was in color.
It would have looked amazing in color.
It would have looked amazing in color. Even if they'd have remastered it in color, I probably would have given it a 5.
Yeah. Well, and what's cool too is they actually filmed in Hawaii, so it just adds another element of realism to it that I really, really appreciated. So they're actually at Pearl Harbor. They're actually, at these places that they're talking about.
Yeah, they were at Schofield Barracks. Yeah, Schofield Barracks used to be one of my clients. So, as really interesting. I mean, I had a contract with all the Army, the Air Force, Navy, and all that kind of stuff. And I remember actually connecting to Schofield Barracks computer system. And I was like, when I heard him talk about Schofield, I was like, oh, hey, yeah, I've done work for them. So
that's awesome.
That was cool.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, and to add more onto it, I like this more than other World War II movies at the time Because a lot of them, they were cheap, made on a soundstage and whatnot. This one felt a lot more realistic.
It did. I agree with that. Especially location, being in Hawaii and all that. I totally agree there. It wasn't like, it wasn't on a soundstage or anything like that. They were actually out there, and that's, that explains the sweat and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I like it. I like your 5, bro. I dig it.
Yes. Thank you. All right. Well, let's move on to the music. Thoughts on the music?
The music is interesting. The music dictates the emotion of the film all the way throughout, and that's what you want in this. There were no songs that really stood out. There were no anything like that. But you can tell when Burt Lancaster shows up in the rain at Deborah Kerr's house, at the captain's house, and confronts the wife. Once the music changes, they're gonna kiss. It's gonna happen. And I was like, as soon as that music changes, I'm like, oh, you're gonna kiss her. And but the way they did the music, the way the score worked, was the score would kick in, giving you the emotion that you're supposed to feel in that scene, and then the scene executes. And they did a really, really good job of doing that. So I ended up at a 4 here.
Nice. Well, I'm not going to disagree. I also gave it a 4. But I will say it is kind of generic horror music. So like if I heard this on Spotify or whatever, I wouldn't be able to tell it was from here to eternity.
Exactly. I said it I couldn't have discerned it from anything else. There's nothing that really stood out. They just, they played it right to give you the emotion that you needed to feel.
Exactly.
At the time. But yeah, there was nothing like, there wasn't any number one song, or, you don't hear Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock in the middle of this. I mean, it's a little early for them, but like when you get that one song that you recognize, oh, that's from that movie.
Right.
Like you hear the Halloween theme and you hear exactly Star Wars and this one, no. And that's why I ended up at a 4, because it's, if you pick that score and just play it for me, I couldn't tell you what movie it's from.
Yeah. And especially in this era, that kind of was the case. Music was really more of giving us the emotional cues like you were talking about.
Right.
It wasn't like a character in the story on its own, really, like it is kind of nowadays.
Right.
So it's very interesting how different it was back then. All right. Well, what is your overall score tallying that all up?
My overall score, so tallying all 5 of those things, dividing it by 5, taking the true average, I came to a final score of 4.3.
Okay. Nice. I got a 4.4, so we're basically in the same in the woods there.
We're right there.
All right. And so with that, would you recommend this movie to other people?
Yeah, I would. I think this is one of those where it's dated, of course, because of, it's 53. So you got to know that coming in. But and I wouldn't recommend it to war movie fans, but I would recommend it to fans of romance movies.
Okay.
Because I really think the story here is the romance, and, and kind of an officer and a gentleman type of thing with Pruitt and the hazing and all that kind of stuff. But I really think that takes a back seat to the romance of Lancaster and Kerr. So yeah, I would recommend it to romance fans. Then maybe I'd look at a war movie fan and say, hey, have you seen From Here to Eternity? If you haven't, give it a watch. I definitely think it's worth a one-time watch for anybody.
Nice. No, I agree. I think this is a good World War II movie, but a great romance movie. So like you said, I would recommend this to romance fans more so than war movie fans.
Yeah.
And I've already mentioned it, but the thing I really don't like is how the film ends on such a melancholic note. I mean, again, we have him going through all this crap and then he ends up dying. It's like, that's not a good payoff, at least for me. But if it's based on a real story, I mean, it is what it is, right? But
yeah,
I
and
wish you didn't have to die, man.
yeah, I knew, and that really didn't hurt me too much. I mean, I was like, oh man, that's unfortunate that he died like that. It would have been great if he'd have made it back, and then maybe he was killed in action, or not killed by friendly fire. That was awful.
Yeah.
But the thing that got me was when Donna Reed and Deborah Kerr are on the ship and they're leaving the island.
Yeah.
And they're talking, and the one girl's like, yeah, leaving my fiance died, and that she had like this crazy story about how he was killed that had nothing to do, like, did she make that up, or is that what the military told her?
Right. Is that what Burt Lancaster told
Is that
her?
what Burt Lancaster said? Oh, he accidentally got killed in action, blah, blah, blah. But instead of, no, we killed him, and we killed him at the ninth hole of the golf course in a sand trap. But then he said the name. She said the name, and Deborah Kerr's character was like, I recognize that name.
Yeah.
You got that recognition, and she threw the lays in the water and said that thing where if the lay goes back to shore, you're destined to go back. But if it goes out to sea, then you're never going to return.
Mm-hmm.
They never show what happens to those lays. That's where I was like, come on, are they going back? Are they not? I would like to have seen. Yeah, I would like to have seen. Yeah, they just left it as a cliffhanger there, and they never did a second movie. So that was where I was like, okay, I don't know. I don't think they're ever coming back, because Donna Reed's character was like, I'm never coming back.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't even have to worry about that.
No, yeah.
I'm not coming back. But that was just kind of a way to end it, where it was just like, oh, and then credits, and I was like, oh, all right. So yeah, I think ultimately the ending was a little flat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially compared to the rest of it and how he was building up to the big war scene and all that.
Yeah, this was more about the journey than it was the destination.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. There's actually a lot of Hitchcock movies like this too, where the ending is like 2 seconds long.
Yeah.
Like I just watched Strangers on the Train, and it had one of those kind of endings where it just ends abruptly. It's like, oh, it's over? Okay.
No, I guess we'll go now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a similar movie like that too. Quite a bit newer though. That just we watched. Yeah, just a little bit that we watched for our show, which aired last night. It was called One More Shot, with Scott Adkins and Michael Jai White and Tom Berenger's in it. It was bad, but it just ends abruptly to where it's like, okay, did they get the nuke? Did it? Is it gonna blow up? What happened? He's just on a plane. He's making a phone call, and they just end it. And I'm like,
oh,
what? But come to find out, it's a trilogy. So not only did I not know that there was a first movie called One Shot, then this is the second movie, One More Shot. But there's a third movie, One Final Shot, that's supposed to be coming out. And I'm like, if the middle one was bad, why are they doing 3 movies? I was like, because I didn't understand the story. I was like, where is this going? This has to be a sequel or something. And sure enough, it was a sequel. But it was really funny when you mentioned that, because I was like, yeah, it just ended. It was just like, okay, what happens?
Yeah. Give me something, man.
I need a little bit more closure than that. Give me something. But then they're like, oh no, there's going to be a third movie. And I'm like, okay, so now I have to watch the third movie because they didn't really end the second one.
That's really
how they get you. That's how they suck you in.
Yep.
But yeah, no, this is good. From Here to Eternity, this is one of those movies that I don't want to say it's iconic. I don't think it's iconic, but I think it's a classic war movie and a classic romance movie. And it's one of those ones that like this beach scene. I bet dollars to donuts half the people out there recognize this scene but have no idea what movie this is from.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I would say, yeah, watch this movie and you'll figure out where the scene's from, because there's an argument that leads up to this this scene, to where they're like, back and forth, like, because Burt Lancaster's like, hey, you're messing with other people? And she's like, you want to know the truth about what happened in the past? And then there was this whole big old thing that led up to this bit right here that you don't know about until you actually watch the movie.
Yeah, there's kind of a story behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. And, because the guys tell him, oh yeah, she's a floozy. She's, she stucks everybody. And then, but really there's something else that happened with her losing her baby and all that. So
yeah, there's more layers to it.
There's more layers to that. And then Burt Lancaster really changed his tune fast.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, hey, I'm sorry. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Let's kiss on the beach. And then you get that.
Yeah. I just love old movies so much, man. It's
I know you do. I know you do, brother. And I have not loved old movies. I have not been a fan. And because that perfectly honest, like, this, if it wasn't for you asking me, I would have never watched this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But, I sure as heck would have never watched The General.
Yeah.
And without you and I'm like, okay. And now I remember that movie. I would have never, I've already watched Gone with the Wind. So that was a second watch for me. But, there are things, getting to know you and doing this show. These are movies where I'm like, okay, these are mostly first time watches for me, unless it's Hitchcock, because Hitchcock, I've watched most of Hitchcock. So yeah. You're not going to be able to stump me there. But some of these other ones, a lot of these older movies I haven't seen. And it's a shame. It is. It's a shame. And I mean, this one included, I'm glad I had the experience to watch it. And I'm glad I have this in my collection now.
Yay. That's right. Show the folks there. You bought this movie for the review.
Yeah. I bought this movie just for the review because, when you were like, hey, we're watching From Here to Eternity. And then I found out it wasn't streaming anywhere. So I went, oh crap. So I can either, buy or rent the digital and I'm always been a physical collector. I could buy the Blu-ray for $11.99 and I bought the Blu-ray.
How did it look, by the way? I forgot that.
It looked good. I was impressed. What really got me in here, there are these postcards with all the characters in them, right? So that was pretty awesome. But what was really funky was the menu screen. The main menu screen in the Blu-ray is in color. Oh
no. So it threw you off, I bet.
So I was like, is it remastered in color? I was like, and everybody on the screen had blue eyes.
Oh, that's weird.
Everybody. Sinatra, Lancaster, Deborah Kerr, and I think Montgomery Clift's character was turned away. So you didn't see his eyes, or he was like a profile. So I was like, does everybody have blue eyes in this movie? And then, but when I turn the movie on, it's black and white. So I'm like, oh, well, that took the air out of my sail. But, but it's really weird that and it pops too. The color just pops, especially the eyes on the main screen. I should have taken a picture and showed it to you.
You got to send that to me. I'm curious.
I will. I'll put it in and I'll take a picture of the main screen so you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And I'll add it into the video too, folks, so you can see that. That's crazy.
Yeah. It was. I was like, what? I mean, it was crazy how it popped, especially the eyes.
Yeah. It's so funny that they do that. It's false advertising, if you ask me.
It was like, wow, that's so blue.
Yeah.
And then I played it and I'm like, it's in black and white.
Maybe that's how I'll trick you into watching these movies. I'll find ones that have color.
Yeah. But they have color cover art and stuff. Yeah. And then you fooled me again. Yeah. Or just, I haven't heard of that one. And then it turns out it's a musical and you're like, hee.
Yes. Oh, I'll find some.
Yeah, I know you will. Just, try to just help me out so I don't have to buy it.
Yeah. Yes. No, that's on me. This was on Netflix like the week before we were gonna record it, man.
Yeah.
Or 2 weeks before. Whatever it was. It was on Netflix. And so I was like, crap, I rented it on iTunes, but
yeah.
But that's the thing.
I could have rented it on Vudu or Prime or something, but yeah, I was like, I looked on Amazon and I was like, $11? I can, yeah. And I had a little bit of cash back from my card, so it only cost me like $8, I think.
There you go.
So yeah, it was not bad. It wouldn't have been much less to rent it, and now I've got the physical release. So, and it came with those awesome cards.
That's the thing. I've talked about this a lot, but so many of these old movies, if they're streaming, it's for like 2 days. It seems they just disappear, move on to another one. So, I have like Tubi and all those, but it's kind of frustrating, and it's hard to recommend movies because when people go to Netflix or go to Max or whatever, it's like, well, it's not there anymore. So I guess it's an expensive hobby. Ooh. Oh. Those are so cool.
Yeah. And notice these are in color.
They are in color. That's confusing.
So again, I'm being tricked. Bamboozled, I tell you. Swindled.
Bamboozled. Yes. Well, anyways, those are our thoughts on the film overall. Anything else you want to add to your thoughts on From Here to Eternity?
No, I think this is definitely worth a watch, you guys. So if you get a chance, check this out. I'd like to see it come back to streaming at some point, so more people can get a chance to watch it.
Yeah,
but yeah, if nothing else, come over to my house.
Yeah,
I'll put it in my Blu-ray player.
Yeah, he's got about 4,000 movies or so.
Maybe about double that.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
About 7,500 or so, and then I've got that.
Oh yep.
So that's an inheritance from my mother-in-law when she passed away. So I got all of her movies. So it's probably a couple hundred movies in there that I gotta open up and catalog, put in my collection.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm coming up on the 8,000 mark.
Oh wow. Well, I'm definitely going to your house then if I want to watch a movie.
You're invited. Let me know when you're coming. I'll barbecue for you.
Yes. I'll bring my dog and my cats. No.
Yep. I've got a dog, but no cats. But you're welcome to bring pets.
Okay. Well, anyways, I agree though. I think I recommend this movie to people, and I'm definitely picking it up. I didn't see if there's a 4K or not for it yet.
No, there was no 4K.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Which is sad because last year's the 70th. They could have done one last year. It'd be what it be.
Yeah. Would have been cool to have a 4K, but yeah, I only found a Blu-ray.
Well, I might buy that same Blu-ray though. I like those little cards.
It was pretty good quality. It was pretty good. I didn't have any problem with the Blu-ray at all. And it's Columbia, so which means it's Sony. So it's,
right.
Yeah, it's good quality disc.
Oh, you know what? I think they did release it in their Columbia Classics collection.
That might be.
But
I haven't checked the Columbia Classics collection.
I had some digital codes from it, and I had this movie, but for some reason they've all disappeared. So I don't know what's going on with iTunes there.
Well, yeah, there's an expiration date on those movies, and Warner Brothers is the biggest to just let it expire, and then you don't get those movies anymore. Even if you've already purchased the digital and put the code in, and it's in your system, it goes away when it expires. It's gone. So
that's why physical forever.
Physical forever. That's right. Because just because you own the digital doesn't mean you own the movie.
Right. You just own a license.
It's like you just own a license to use it while they have it.
Right.
It's basically just like Netflix. So once they stop showing it, then you don't have access to that movie anymore. Yeah. And I think iTunes has the same thing.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's kind of everything for today's show, guys. And why don't you plug your stuff again, David, before we go?
All right, you guys. Yeah, thanks, Harrison. This has been awesome. I'm glad you had me on. Yeah, and I'm always ready to do it again because you give me movies that I've never watched before. So, and I love the experience. So, yeah, have me back on whenever you want. But for those of you that want to check out our show, which focuses on newer movies, it's the Faces for Radio podcast, which airs on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, where we take 5 or more new releases each week, and we watch them, we review them, and our scoring system is out of 10 categories with a 1 to 10 scale. So it's a total score out of 100. Coming up on the 17th of July is a special show because we're doing all theatrical releases. So anything that's come out in theaters in the first few weeks of July, we're going to be reviewing on the 17th. So Bike Riders, Quiet Place Day One, Long Legs, that kind of thing. All those, we have 6 of them, I think, on that list that we're going to do. And we're going to have at least one, I'm hoping for 3 special guests to show up. And we're all going to score those movies. So it's going to be a pretty big show. So check it out, at least at that one on the 17th. Might be the 18th. I'll find out for sure this weekend. But by the time this airs, that will already be done.
Right.
So never mind. Forget about that. But yeah, that's okay. So I wasted my time. But sorry no, about that. The Faces Radio podcast, we air every Wednesday night, 6 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern. You guys definitely come and check us out. And the 4K Lowdown, it's at 4K Lowdown. You can find me by myself on Letterboxd, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. And I do unboxings. Some of the Faces for Radio shows will air on that, especially on Twitter. We do Twitter live on that for Faces for Radio on my channel. But yeah, we're looking forward to hitting that 1,000 mark on YouTube. So you guys get a chance, give us a follow. And we're also on Spotify at Faces for Radio. So the audio portion of our live cast will show on Spotify and on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, all that stuff. So you can find us anywhere.
Anywhere and everywhere.
Anywhere and everywhere. Nice. We're all over the place.
That's right. All right. Well, thanks again for coming on, David. That was a blast. I'm definitely going to have you on again at some point. And I definitely want to join you guys on your show at some point as well.
Yeah. I definitely want to get you on. I've got to figure out, we schedule our stuff usually a month out. So if you go to the Faces for Radio Instagram page, has our schedule per week. So if you see a list of movies, hey, I could watch those movies. Then say, hey, I want to be on the show. If you're going to watch those 5 movies or whatever, then yeah, we'll bring you on the show. Absolutely.
Sounds good. Well,
no doubt.
Fax you.
Yeah. Fax me. Yeah. Send it by Pony Express. I'll get it at some point. And then our 100th episode of By the Numbers will air at the end of this year. So it should be the last episode of the year in December. Should be our 100th episode of By the Numbers. And I'm planning a big one. So we're gonna have a lot of people. So right now I'm gonna invite you.
Heck yeah.
Jump on, because I want to have you and Nate and Alex and Evan and try to get as many people as we can on and have just a big old show. So
that'd be awesome. Heck yeah. All right. Well, thanks again for coming on, and this has been Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin. This is my very special guest, David. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody.